Alright guys, in today's video we have some more PlayStation and Xbox news to go over and discuss. Before we get into it, if you could do me a big favor, hit the like button to help the video out, hit the subscribe button if you're new, and hit the bell notification icon as well, so you can be notified immediately anytime a new video goes live. But we do have multiple topics we will be discussing in this video, two of which have to do with announcements from the Game Awards last night. And I'm sure many of you are wondering whether or not I'm going to be talking more in depth about the Game Awards, everything that went down, our expectations, and all that stuff. And I'm going to let you know that we will be talking more about it during the next episode of Press X Podcast, which will be happening this Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern. I have a lot to say. There's going to be a lot to talk about. So make sure you show up for that. It's going to be a good show as always. But right now we're talking about the November NPD report, which reveals some very interesting things about both the PlayStation 5 and the next generation Xbox consoles. With the release of the PlayStation 5, Sony achieved the biggest console launch month in the history of video games, according to NPD's November reports. Sony's new console broke the record of most units sold in a launch month, which was previously held by PlayStation 4 in November 2013. It also broke the record for the highest dollar sales, again beating out the PlayStation 4 in its launch month. While the lead up to the PS5's launch was certainly littered with potholes, it's been a smooth ride for PlayStation since early November. The combination of a great launch lineup and unprecedented hype, and from the PS4's success, seems to have culminated in phenomenal sales for both hardware and software alike. The console's only limitation at this point seems to be supply and scalpers. The leading software title for the month of November was Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which took the top spot for both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles in the month of November. More impressive is that it's now the top-selling software title for the entire year with less than 1 month on the market. Just goes to show how popular Call of Duty still is even after all these years. Spider-Man Miles Morales was the third best-selling game in November, beating out multi-platform titles like Watch Dogs Legion and NBA 2K 2021. I do think it's worth noting that this proves that Sony did make a wise decision in making Spider-Man Miles Morales a cross-gen title, because I can assure you that it would probably not be sitting at the number 3 spot, beating out these titles if it was not also sold on the PS4. It is also worth noting that Demon's Souls did land at the number 10 spot, so it did make it within the top 10, which I'm very happy to see because it was a PS5 only title. I think it's safe to say if it did also release on the PS4, it would have sold significantly better, but still, even being PS5 only, it was able to make the top 10. The PS5's DualSense controller was the highest selling controller in both units and dollars in the US launch month history, so that is very impressive. People seem to really love the DualSense controller. Can't blame them, it's an amazing controller, probably my favorite of all time. The Nintendo Switch did outsell the PS5 in the month of November, continuing its run of 24 straight months as the best-selling console. The PS5, however, beat the Switch in dollars earned, owing to the more expensive hardware. What's interesting about this is I think it's safe to say that the PS5 most likely would have outsold the Switch if they were able to meet the demand. We know that the PS5 is currently suffering a supply constraint issue, so the demand is incredibly high. It's probably off the charts, honestly, based off of the way people are acting about the PlayStation 5 and not being able to get one. And we know that Sony is trying their best to fulfill that demand. If they didn't have that issue with supply, I think it's safe to say that it would have outsold the Switch. Maybe not. It's hard to say, but that's my assumption. In somewhat grim news, the Xbox Series X and S tracked lower in its first month than the Xbox One did in November 2013. While Xbox has reported that their Series X and S launch was the best in Xbox history, they did launch simultaneously worldwide this time around instead of a gradual worldwide rollout. This boosted their overall sales numbers, but leaves a bleak picture for their hardware sales in the US, which is what the NPD reports are based on. So yeah, that one's a little bit interesting because I think it's safe to say that the Series X and S outsold the Xbox One. I mean, Phil Spencer did say that it was their biggest launch ever, and they sold more consoles than ever before, but it was spread out more thin. It was a simultaneous worldwide launch. If it wasn't, and there were more units available to be sold in just the US, I think it's safe to say that the Series X and S would have outsold the Xbox One. We won't know for sure, but I think the real test is going to be once the supply is no longer an issue and they can meet all the demand, once Xboxes are sitting on shelves and people can just go in and buy them. I think that's going to be the real test for just how popular or unpopular their Xbox consoles are going to be. So Yeah, some very interesting information there. Moving right along, though, we're talking about an update that came to Spider-Man Miles Morales, and it's a pretty significant update. This update adds a new performance mode to the game that allows you to play the game at 60 FPS with ray tracing enabled. So a new Spider-Man Miles Morales PS5 update has rolled out, and it adds a ray tracing performance mode to the game. Insomniac just decided to shadow drop this in a recent update, and obviously this has made a lot of PlayStation 5 owners very happy, but it does come at the cost of resolution. I mean, it's really great to see this. From what I've heard, if you're playing in this performance mode with the ray tracing enabled, it does lower the resolution. I think it can go as low as 1080p, but I think it can run above that if I'm not mistaken. But from what I've heard and from what I've seen, it looks amazing. Having that 60 FPS and the ray tracing just makes the graphical fidelity in general look extremely high quality, to where the resolution drop isn't really that noticeable. But I think this is great news because it shows that we can maybe expect even more performance modes, fidelity modes. It shows that they're willing to really just offer as many different modes as they can, which I think is great because we all love to have those options. So there you go. If you didn't complete Spider-Man Miles Morales, now you have this new performance mode you can play it at, or if you just want to replay it, there you go. Moving right along, though, we are talking about upcoming PlayStation 5 exclusive Returnal. It was announced during the Game Awards that this game is going to be releasing March 19th, 2021, and they did show a new trailer featuring a lot of gameplay, at least a lot more than what we've seen so far, and I think it looks great. It looks very fast-paced. This is Housemarque, their first proper AAA title. It's being sold at $70. That's how you know it's AAA. And there are some interesting conversations happening right now around the pricing of this title. And I think I might actually save that for a separate video because I want to kind of get deeper into it. Some people think that a $70 price tag is really going to hurt this game. Others think it's not. I think it's worth having a deeper conversation around this. But either way, I do think the game looks really, really good. I think it has the potential to be a sleeper hit. And I think that people really do like Housemarque. Housemarque is known for great playing games, high quality games. Again, this is their first foray into a proper AAA title. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it holds up. I really like what I'm seeing. The gameplay does look very fast-paced. Graphically, it looks great. It certainly does look AAA from a graphical standpoint. It seems like there could be a pretty interesting story here as well. So yeah, I think everything's looking good for Returnal. It is interesting that we have a release date for Returnal before we have a release date for Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, but I have a feeling both of these games are going to be launching very close to one another. But to close out this video, I do want to talk a little bit about Microsoft's big announcement, or one of their announcements that they had at the Game Awards last night, which is the return of Perfect Dark. It turns out that their new quadruple A studio, I don't want to call it that anymore. I think it's just safe to say that they're a new studio. The Initiative, this is what they're working on. They're working on Perfect Dark. We recently did cover a rumor that apparently, some supposed Xbox insiders were saying that people were not going to be happy when they saw this game revealed, and they did suggest that it was going to be episodic. We didn't hear anything about this game being episodic, but I have seen some people express disappointment. A lot of people who are familiar with Perfect Dark and have been waiting to see this franchise return are very happy about it. Others are feeling very disappointed that it wasn't a new IP that was revealed. To be honest, I'm kind of indifferent to it. The trailer they showed didn't look bad. It just didn't show any gameplay, so I'm just not sure what exactly to expect in terms of gameplay. I'm not familiar with Perfect Dark, so that's another reason why I'm kind of indifferent to it. I am excited to see what it's going to play like, though. I will give it the benefit of the doubt. They do have a lot of talent there over at the Initiative. Whether or not it's going to live up to what expectations currently are, which I think is a very good game. I think that's the minimum expectation for the Initiative. We're going to have to wait to see that. But I was surprised that they did reveal this game simply because Microsoft really did kind of make it sound like they weren't going to be showing up at the Game Awards. Aaron Greenberg told fans to dial down their expectations, and I took that as they're really just not going to be there at all. So I was very interested. I was very surprised and interested to see that, the Initiative was there, and like, what is this game? They're calling it an eco sci-fi thriller. And what's interesting is I think some people are trying to figure out whether or not this is going to be like a first-person game or a third-person game. So let me read to you what it says here. It says, 2 years ago, we announced the formation of a new Xbox game studio in Santa Monica, the Initiative, and today at the Game Awards, we announced our first project, Perfect Dark. With Perfect Dark, we're aiming to deliver a secret agent thriller set in a near future world. We have built the Perfect Dark team at the Initiative by bringing in some of the most talented game makers from around the industry who all share a passion for storytelling, world building, and creating memorable game experiences. With the full backing from Xbox Studios to reimagine one of the best loved IPs from gaming history, we couldn't be more excited to share some of our early ideas. We're working hard to deliver on the promise of the next generation of game making. So there you go. That's pretty much what they had to say about the game, and the trailer, again, it doesn't really reveal too much about what to expect from the gameplay, but a lot of people are happy about this. Personally, my opinion, I would have preferred seeing a new IP. I think that would have just been a little bit more exciting. To me, it may as well be a new IP, though, to be completely honest, because, again, I'm not familiar with Perfect Dark, never played it. I don't even really know what it's about. So to me, it kind of comes off as a new IP. But yeah, I just thought that was pretty interesting. Now we know what the Initiative is working on, so we're just going to have to wait to see the gameplay. But that's pretty much going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. Make sure you leave your thoughts about everything we discussed here in this video down in the comments below. I will be interested to see what you have to say. Again, leave it a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.